Hey guys, welcome to another video. And in this video, I wanted to talk about how God gave you the keys, so it's time to lock in. And I got inspired to make this video because I was listening to the song Drop by Forrest Frank. And I think the song starts and he goes, God gave me the keys, time to lock in. And it made me just think about how so oftentimes in life we wait for permission from others to start to chase our dreams because we let the opinions of others kind of rule over our lives. And whether that means you're creating content, whether that means you're trying to get into a certain career, whether that means you're trying to start a new side hustle, we tend to let other people's limitations, their personal limitations, dictate our actions. And the way that I think about it is we tend to live so much in the world that we forget that ultimately when we roll with God, when we're believers, we have access to a different level of strength than people of the world do. And because of that, it's important to pray and to make sure that anything that you're looking to pursue, that you let God know and God can equip you with the energy and the strength to persevere until you get that thing that you've been working towards. And so it reminded me the fact that we just wait for permission from the world and we put our lives on hold because of parents. Like, for example, we can find ourselves in a situation where we stay with our parents and we keep living with our parents because they don't want us to move out and go to school, or they don't want us to move out of the state and go to a different school. So because of that, we stay in state, we keep living with our parents, only to end up frustrated 2, 3, 4 years down the road and thinking, oh, well, I could have grown so much as a person. I could have gotten involved in so many different clubs and all these other things, had they gotten the opportunity to go to a different state, to go to a different school. And so that's why it's important to not allow the limitations and the restrictive viewpoints of humans to dictate what would be really good for you in the end, because you see it far too often, and then you end up just being disappointed, and you end up looking at your parents as these people that held you back from accomplishing what you ultimately wanted to accomplish. And this also can even go for friends, because there's so many times in life where you might be trying to pursue something, but your friends might want to hang out with you more. Your friends might constantly try to convince you and guilt trip you into hanging out with all of them. And when you end up doing this, of course you have a good time when you're hanging out or whatever, but it's the similar situation where you look back 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now and you just end up regretting the fact that you spent so much time trying to please your friends and hanging out with your friends that you didn't end up working towards any of your goals. So then you just can't help but feel behind and just wonder where you would have been if you would have been able to set more boundaries and kind of control those relationships a little bit more. And so, also, even in terms of creating content, I think it can get so easy for us to fear that, okay, if I really want to create content, what if people judge me? Or what if people don't like the content that I'm creating? And we allow these negative thoughts to stop us from starting things that we know we should start ultimately. Because the same thing even goes for me in the sense where I may not always feel the most confident or feel like, a video that I do is the best video. But regardless, it's important to not allow your own limitations to stop you from doing something that you want to do. And for me, I feel like whenever I go, whether it's like a month, 2 months, or whatever, without recording or without putting content out there, I feel like I'm just not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And so oftentimes when I'm going through those, like the self-doubt and all of that, when I go through, kind of like a hiatus or whatever from posting, the fact that I get excited to create content again tells me that it's something that I should be doing. And that also gives me the strength to not be concerned with, a person that might not like a video that I create, or a person that might not like my delivery or my style or whatever. And so that's why it's important to sometimes not even allow yourself to kind of think your way out of pursuing your dreams. Because ultimately, when you have a goal, when you have something that you're really passionate about, that you've been chasing, there's a reason why you have that passion. And God put that in you for a reason. And this is why, whenever I think about career choices, for example, it always reminds me of the fact that not everyone is meant to go to med school. Not everyone is meant to become a lawyer or a dentist or an engineer. For some people, God puts in their heart this strong desire to be a chef and to really master that craft. And for them, they know that that's their calling and that's something that they want to pursue. And for other people, it is content. For other people, it can be whatever, some people it's designing or modeling or whatever. And, when God puts that in your heart, he puts it there for a reason. There's a reason why everyone has different hobbies and different things that interest them in terms of what they like to do in their free time. And so it's important to not allow your own self-doubt, your own negative thought patterns to talk yourself out of pursuing something that beyond a shadow of a doubt you're legitimately interested in. And then this line, that whole line with the God gave you the keys, time to lock in, it also just reminded me of how there are times where you might not feel like you have the strength. You might feel like, oh, well, I had a long day at work, I had this, I had that. And you might not necessarily feel like recording, or you might not feel like working on this side hustle. And what I would say to that is sometimes it's not a matter of whether you feel like or don't feel like doing something. Sometimes even if you just work on your side hustle for 15 minutes or 20 minutes because you had a long day and you're exhausted, that 15 to 20 minutes is much better than not doing anything. Because I'm reading this book, and I've listened to the audiobook before, but I'm reading this book called The Compound Effect, I think, or Atomic Habits. I think it's Atomic Habits. But it basically talks about the importance of, even if it's just a little bit of work that you're doing every day, in the long run, that's going to compound and it's going to be so much more beneficial to you than working super hard on something for a week or 2 weeks and then just dropping it. And it's also important to remember that when you don't have strength, that's when it's important to pray and to ask God for strength to do whatever it is that you need to do. Because when you believe in God, you have access to an infinite amount of strength that we as humans don't have access to. And it's important to not fall into this worldly way of thinking where, of course, self-care is important, but we tend to fall into this habit, being in the world of, oh, well, I should just treat myself today. I should treat myself today. And we think this every single day. And this is how we end up putting our dreams on hold, because we're so focused on treating ourselves, the worldly part of ourselves, that we're not treating ourselves spiritually. We're not treating ourselves in terms of building that discipline. And even, whenever I'm at the gym or whatever, and there are times where I might get tired and think, okay, I don't have one more rep in me. I just always remember it's like Jesus is right next to me and he's like giving me that pep talk to get that one more rep in, or to get that one last set in. And it's such a beautiful thing, because I did this for the first time yesterday when I was working out. And to just have that reassurance, that feeling of, okay, I know I can do one more rep. I know I can, because Jesus is right next to me and he told me that I can. And it's something that when you are not focused on that, you tend to forget. And we tend to, get so caught up in, oh, well, I'm tired, or I feel like this. I don't feel like doing this. But the way I've really started to switch my mind and thinking in terms of, I've started to think, okay, it's me and Jesus. It's me and Jesus. Okay, we are doing X, Y, and Z. We are doing this. We are doing that. And it's helped me so much to give me this sense of just calm and knowing that everything that happens is ultimately God's will. Sometimes you're gonna have a great day and thank God, and sometimes you're gonna have a bad day and thank God as well, because those bad days are teaching you things that you can implement moving forward in terms of having better days. And so when we think of the big picture, when we're doing things, it allows us to not get so distracted and bogged down by, oh, today wasn't good for this reason. Tomorrow, might not be good for this reason. And it allows us to know that, okay, me and God are going to go through today. We're going to go through tomorrow. If today ends up being a rough day, I'm going to talk to God. We're going to figure out what happened. And we're going to make adjustments for the next day. And so that's another thing that people tend to get wrong when it comes to walking with God, is they almost tend to think every day should be amazing. And that's not true, because if every day is amazing, there's never going to be any room to grow. There's never going to be any room to improve on yourself and to get better. And that's another reason why when you realize that, it allows you to make those changes and to adapt. And so, yeah, you guys, I want to make this video real quick just because I just heard that lyric and I just felt so compelled to make this video to talk about a lot of things that people oftentimes don't think about. And I'd heard that song by Forrest Frank. I'd heard it probably 20 or 30 times, but it was just that time at the gym that it came on, and it just reminded me of the importance of remembering that you have empowerment, and remembering that God is telling you to go for it, and God is telling you to, of course, take care of yourself and rest when when it's needed, but at the same time to take advantage of the hours that you're putting work in. And so I hope you guys like this video. If you guys like it, please like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video with anyone that you think could benefit from it. And I'll talk to all of you guys in the next video.